Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. We, Francis and I had a brief call before we came on here, and we both went, "Look, the Holy Spirit dressed us both in white." And I said, "That's involuntary." We didn't plan that. So it's just fun, when you start to see everything is involuntary. So we're going to have a great weekend. So glad to see you, Francis. See you again and see all the lovely smiling faces sprinkled around the world. It's amazing. And I see we have some new people this week. We have Ernst from Austria. We have Haruka from Japan. We have Kyoko from the Netherlands. And we have five new ones from the United States: Elaine, Jana, Marilyn, Maria, and PJ. So, to our new 8 visitors joining us for the first time, thank you for coming, and I think you're going to love it. We're going to have a fun time here. So, Francis, wow, what a fun life we have. That's what we were talking about. We get on for a half an hour and just talk about what a fun life we have and how grateful we are. And that we couldn't help but talking about that. It was involuntary.
Yeah, even last night I was praying for today. I was thinking, oh, the retreat is coming and the topic is miracles are involuntary. And then I started to have this feeling, very strong feeling, almost like a knocking at my door, and if this feeling of bubbly and as as if the spirit was telling me, just remember that this is what you want, this is what all of you want, and you found it, you found each other, and here we are, just celebrate that. And I thought, oh, just remember that this is what we want, this is the calling of our heart, this, you know, this is our path, and we find each other. I have all your face, even though I don't have, necessarily recognize all the faces, but a face of a lot of you flashed through my mind. Like, this is what we're here together to celebrate.
Yeah. The Holy Spirit is the spirit of joy. Our curriculum is the curriculum of joy. And, that's how we transcend the ego, which is the death wish, is through joy and happiness. And Francis and I were reading a lot of the prayers and the questions as we do before we do an online retreat. And wow, we can just feel your hearts underneath the prayers, and the question is just this spirit just bursting out, just recognizing itself, rejoicing in its identity itself. And the thing that's so beautiful is we want this. We really do. Like Francis said, we've prayed for this. And also when we were reading the prayers and questions, it always comes to mind that this is a lifelong devotion. This isn't something that you should just do for a brief time and then wonder, why isn't it working? Because it's a lifelong devotion, and that takes you into the light. Is the devotion, the prayer and the devotion. So that's a keynote that we saw this morning when we were talking.
Yeah, and even talking about lifelong devotion, I remember when maybe in my first retreat, when I met David, I had a one-on-one time with David. And that was the question I asked, is it like give me the succinct answer of how I can truly have an experience that I'm not this body and I'm the spirit. And David said, if you really want to know, I would give my whole life to it to find out. And that was the answer to a question like how do I really know in experience? And I thought, well, that's not an answer I expected, because it felt long at the time. but, but, but the yes was in the moment, and I thought, well, okay then. But what happened afterwards was, David and I even talk about it, we got sucked into this involuntary nature of this journey. We got sucked in. We're not really there to say, I need to undo this, I need to undo this, my mind is this. We got sucked into this journey. And wow, the things that does, they do, when they don't serve us, they fall away because truly we just jump into this ride with the Holy Spirit, and that's really what we want to share, this weekend.
Yeah. Yesterday I was doing a live with Kenneth and Anna. I see they're joining us from Spain, and we had so much fun. And then a little bit later, Frances said, I'm tuned in, I'm watching. She said, oh, all these wonderful, gushy, wonderful feelings are coming to me as I'm watching. And I said, yeah, it's truly involuntary. The joy is absolutely involuntary, and being sucked into it. Or to use Star Trek terminology, we're getting beamed up. We got on into the transporter room, and somebody turned the switch, and all the electrons are going, and the energy, and then we go from a body into a light beam of light, like a vertical beam of light, and then nothing. It's gone. And somehow it seems like that's what happened with the Course, that I got sucked into the transformer room, and Jesus flipped the switch, and I got really lit up. And then, of course, we're all attracted to that same light because we all are that same light. And then it didn't seem to matter. That's what when I was talking to Kenneth and to Anna. It doesn't seem, you don't care where the body goes, what the body does. You start to feel how it's involuntary, that when you say a big yes and you just start to just go with your intuition and those inner prompts and nudges, the prompts and nudges grow stronger and stronger, and then you're sucked in, and you don't want to get out of it. You get sucked into it, and you don't want to get out of this experience. And then it convinces you that this is such a wonderful, this is the total fulfillment of everything that you could ever want or ever even seem to need. It is a total fulfillment. So it's just an honor for us to be sharing with you the feeling that we're having in our heart and the state of mind we're feeling, and join with you fully in that. Yeah. Well, I think Stephanie Renetto said to the prayer, Frances, and we were both looking at that when we were looking at the prayers and questions, and we were just beaming and twinkling, and our eyes started twinkling when we read Stephanie's prayer. And so we were like, oh, we need to share this. So maybe you can just read that for everybody to start us off for this weekend.
Yes, I'd love to. Dear Francis and David, miracles are like sparkling stars in the sky. I love to sit outside in the night and look into the sky. Sometimes I can't see the stars, but I know they're there. When I look back to this moment, I see my path was covered with sparkling stars of miracles, and they strengthen my trust. With my deepening of the desire to experience love and having heart-opening experiences, it feels like an invitation for more unconscious to arise. Past thoughts and patterns and grievances about holding back love weigh heavy on my heart. I offer my willingness to do God's will and to know divine love to make way for the miracles. I know they will carry me. With love and gratitude. That's a prayer.
That's a prayer. They will carry me. So first you get sucked in, and then you get carried. Wow. That's pretty good. Sucked in and carried, and it's involuntary. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. I think that is the answer that we've been praying for too, because the human condition, to the extent that you believe in it in linear time, and to the lack and scarcity and conflict of the ego, to that extent there is a heaviness, and yet the prayer is always, Holy Spirit, lift me up, you know, lift me higher and higher. Lift us up where we belong, like the Joe Cocker song, Love, lift us up where we belong. That's the prayer of our heart. And then anything that we've been hanging on to seems to come up from the unconscious. So the blocks are not hidden anymore. And at first, it's a little intense to start to see, oh my gosh, look at these defense mechanisms that I've been holding on to. What a heavy thing are defense mechanisms, because I must be defending something that's not real. Spirit doesn't need defense. Spirit just is. So it must be that this ego self-concept that was made as a substitute identity is heavy, has heavy armature around it. And then we start to become first aware of the defense mechanisms, and that's intense because we tend to judge ourselves like, I can't believe I did this to myself. Why would I do this to myself? I love myself. Why would I do this? But then we start to realize it's just coming into awareness so we can let it go. And then we start to get lighter, like, oh, okay, I get it. Let it up and let it go. That's the way it goes. Well, we had some very sincere questions that were written in, and we could really feel the heart of what was being called for. And so we thought too, before we open things wide open here, we would just try to answer some of those. And one of them that really jumped out was a friend of ours, Isabel de Ward from the Netherlands, and she had actually just come a short while ago, on a trip all the way from the Netherlands to the monastery, to allow her skills in design to be used in some construction projects that were going on. And Frances, would you like to read what Isabel wrote?
Yes. Yeah, I actually think it's very representative of a lot of the prayer of you. So we just thought to use that as an example. Isabel said, "Hi, David and Francis. I'm praying for expansion, clarity, and softness of the heart and mind. I want to experience reverence and the peace of God in every moment. Coming back from the monastery, I have been praying for expansion and authenticity. I've been questioning why I do things, why I think I want specific things, what I'm using things and situations for, and whether they're truly still serving me on a higher level. I've been looking at the many distractions I allow myself to be occupied by. The monastery was a space for me where many of those distractions weren't there. But dropping my hobbies, friends, job, and possessions all at once does not seem like the way to go. I want distractions from the peace of God to authentically lift, transform, or fall away. How do I go about this?"
That's so beautiful. Well, I know, Isabel, that prayer is really a prayer that many, many people share, because I think it starts to dawn on us that we cannot really approach the light by struggling or fighting against the ego. We have to be drawn to the light. We have to be attracted to the light in a way that our attention gets pulled away from what the ego made as a substitute for us. So a lot of times the things we consider distractions in the world, I always was really interested in myself because I used to ask these questions like, why am I still drawn to this thing, or why am I habitually still repeating this thing when I don't think it serves me, but I don't seem to be ready to want to let it go yet. And Jesus did say that all temptation is a wish to make illusions real. So it's like a wish to hold on to a hierarchy of illusions and hold off the light, hold off the miracle, which would show that they're all the same. And I thought, wow, I am not going to ever get anywhere if I am resistant. I am not going anywhere in my spiritual growth if I feel coerced in any way, if I feel forced to do anything. Wow, it will take a miracle for me to voluntarily release what's holding me back. It's going to take a miracle. And Jesus would say, that's exactly right. It's going to take a miracle for you to really be happy and joyful because you still find a little value in certain things. And he said, don't worry, I got it. Just relax. Enjoy the ride. I got this thing. No problem. This is inevitable. I will give you everything you need and instruct you to release whatever is holding you back. So I think the thing that got me was I wanted to go back to love through attraction, not through avoidance. I want to be attracted to love. And Jesus said, yeah, that's what we're doing when we bring through the miracles in your mind, we're showing that love is attracted to love. And your essence is love, and you're attracted to that divine essence. And as you go forward, the more that you get into your function, which is really forgiveness, but the more you just get into the joy of your function, that joy, like a ball of light, will grow bigger and bigger in your mind until it just lights the whole thing up. It just lights the whole mind up. But it's always through attraction and not avoidance. Because whenever we have things in our mind that we think that we need to avoid, we really just need to look a little deeper and come back to that joy, that inspiration, which will be the light that extends. And I know, Francis, we've talked about this so many times that it's been like we got sucked into this. I couldn't really imagine living a life of devotion unless I got sucked into it and saw the benefit of it, saw the benefit of being used by Jesus, by God, by the Holy Spirit, used so fully that I felt my mind was aligned. It was taken back. It was taken back to the light. And that's been the thing. It's an attraction.
Yeah, and I was actually even thinking, even for myself as well, I got into the course. I was so drawn to the course. I started course study group or meetup group, but it wasn't really until I actually met David and Jason and different messengers. They all came to Australia. We had a retreat, and there was this activation in, oh my God, I'm expanding. This is what I want. This is what I want. And I'm going to give my life to this. And from that moment, is this huge attraction, like a tractor beam. You're so attracted to the light and to that expansive feeling and that joy and freedom in the heart. This carries us. And that's what I felt happened. And I was carried not through intellectual thinking, how does the spiritual journey look? How do I become more quiet, present? It was just through this, like what David was telling me this morning, that Yogananda said when someone said, how do I quit smoking? Can I still smoke and while practice your teachings? And Yogananda said, yes, you can do everything, but I can't promise that you will continue to feel that attractive if you come closer. And that is exactly how it feels. we follow this unequivocal, this strong attraction to God. And then, the messengers that God sent to us in our life, and we get closer and closer, and everything that doesn't really serve is going to fall away without us actually consciously controlling it. So that is really how I feel. Even with the traveling yesterday, when I was listening to Anna and Ken, I was so lit up, and I had to call David afterwards, because just to bring back all this. Remember how involuntary, remember how you got sucked in, and this is like such an undoing of letting go of control, such a washing, for me with the traveling. And yet when the travel ends, it was loud and clear. The symbol was, you can't miss the symbol. We can never really say, well, am I supposed to do this? Am I supposed to do that? It was so loud. Global pandemic, you're not going anywhere. And we were laughing about you can't even mess it up, because when we give us over to this attraction to, this our path, I can say without hesitation, all of us share this path. And when we give ourselves over, when we give everything we got just to this, then we can just relax, really lean back and relax.
Yeah. And Isabel, Jesus does say in the Course that the ego does have a plan of salvation of its own if you're asking for one. And if you're going to listen to it, it will offer a very intricate, complex plan of salvation, its own version. You see how sneaky it is. It's like the Holy Spirit's offering salvation of the mind, peace of mind, and eternal life. And the ego's like, I can come up with one of those too. I can come up with my own plan of salvation. And what it does, the ego's plan is, if something would change in the world, I'd be happy. And Jesus's plan is, if I change my mind and take on this new purpose, I'll be happy. But they're diametrically opposed. So then the ego says, if something would change in the world, you'd be happy. And the ego invented choice. In heaven, in pure oneness, there's no choice. It's just beingness. It's just isness in God, just eternal life, happiness. And yet the ego invented choice, because you have to have two to have choice, you see? And God is one. So the ego invented choice, and then it projected out a world, and then it said, here, now you've got a body and you're a human being, you've got a new identity I gave you and everything, and the good thing about this new human identity is you get to choose every day which of the images you want to make your new self. That's your new self that takes the place of whatever that was before. The ego doesn't really like to emphasize. It doesn't know what spirit is, so it's basically saying, you get to pick and choose every day between the images of what you like and what you dislike, and then you can kind of make a composite self, a personality self, to take the place of your divine spirit, which it says, frankly, you threw that away when you separated from God, so this is all you got now, so make the best of it. Just pick the best choices. And that's what we all face. We think, wow, I like, these choices. If I had more skills and more money, if I had more time, I could pick more of the things that I want to build the self-concept. And this whole intricate plan of trying to choose the best things in the world and avoid the worst things in the world is part of the sleep. It's a way to stay asleep. So for me, at the beginning, of course, I kind of like to think, okay, I've got a whole day here. Now, how am I going to spend it? Almost like the 24 hours of currency. What am I going to do? What hobbies? What interests? What things really excite me? And then I need a job to pay for those things. And then, I need a roof over my head. And then once I get that, maybe a car would be nice. Okay, get that. Like to travel some. Okay, need more money for that. And then you try to choose the day as you would have it be to get the things that the ego tells you you can get to be happy. And then Francis, what we both discovered was it's better not to choose. If I make no decisions by myself, this is the day. It's better to just pray and ask and say, what would you have me do today? Where would you have me go? Who would you have me meet? It's better to have a clean slate and just say to the Holy Spirit, why don't you direct the day? I don't want to make a single decision apart from what you want from me, because you're going to help me unwind from this ego self-concept. So I want to just line up with you, and I want you to tell me what I should do. Now, once you start to make that prayer, you're just at the very edge of getting sucked in. And and Francis and I, we made the prayer like, okay, I don't want to control this day. I want you to guide me to do miracles so that you arrange time and space for me so that I don't feel trapped by time and space. I want to be a miracle worker, and I want you, Jesus, to arrange time and space so that the day is not my own. It's kind of out of my hands. I just show up and say, okay, be you in charge. Here's my day. Let's have some fun. And Jesus is like, thank you. We will have some fun. With me directing, we will have a lot of fun. And that's why, maybe you can talk about that, Francis, when you kind of let go of that old plan of salvation, of with the job and the savings and the house and all the things to get it just right, so that Francis could do the things that Francis wanted to do, like travel the world and those kind of things. And now how it got flipped. And as soon as it got flipped, you got sucked in. You got in the tractor beam. And that's all she wrote from that point on.
Yeah, even with the travels, it's so different, because before I met David, I would travel as well around the world for like an annual holiday, save up all my holidays once a year, do a huge tour. And it's such like making a lot of decisions, pick and choose where to go, how to spend the money, and which hotel to stay. It's all around preferences and decision making. And then once the Spirit is saying, let's travel, I couldn't imagine the difference, because you make no decision about where to go. The Spirit is completely taking over. I'm going to guide you. And that's really what I heard from Anna and Ken yesterday as well. I'm going to choose the people. I'm going to choose where you go. And I'm going to choose how the means of travel will come to you. You make no decisions around things in time and space, and you just stay with me in prayer. And that's actually how Jesus says in the manual of teachers, how a teacher of God spent his day. He said, every single one that you need to meet will be sent to you. And everyone sent with a lesson already predetermined and will be learned in that day. That precision is like, oh my God. And truly it feels like you can stay wide-eyed without thinking you have chosen anything, and just think, wow, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you. But that is a huge change of attitude and a huge change of the frame of thinking. From decision-making, this is who I am, this is what I want, to Spirit, my hands is off the wheel, you control my life now. And it is a huge, huge ride. But yeah, it's very beautiful, because the priority completely shift for us. The priority is the Spirit inside. And even I was reading this, Jesus says in the Course, God communicates with the Spirit in you, which is unceasing all the time. And the Spirit would translate through you so that you can understand the message. So I thought, well, that's what the body is for. I'm merely translating this message that I already received all the time through words, through the attitude. It's like it's for me to understand what love is, what forgiveness is. And then the miracle reflects back. Miracles forgives, and the miracle reflects back the fruit of the Spirit. So that is, that's the difference. It's a huge change of mind.
Yeah. And I think out of all the things that the ego invented, choice is heavily guarded. I mean, for most people, if you get into the topic of choice, most people would say, well, I think choice is a good thing, and I wish I had more to make. And it's not so much of a more or less, because people, I mean, remember the ego was teaching me, the more money you have, the more choices you have. And I'd say, what do you mean? And the ego was like saying, well, the more money you have, the more options you have. If you have less money, you have less options. If you have more money, you have more options. You see, the ego, that's why the ego wants the idea of wealth in its own terms to serve its purpose of covering itself from being exposed. For example, with money and wealth, what Jesus taught 2,000 years ago is he said it's easier for the camel to go through an eye of the needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. What, Jesus, what are you teaching us? It's easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle. Well, back then, the eye of the needle is a very narrow passage, mountaintop passage, and it's very difficult to get animals through this narrow passage because there's a risk of the animal falling off or getting stuck. Easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. He was basically saying that in the Course, he says, ownership is a dangerous idea if left to you, meaning the ego wants to get things for itself, get possessions, get people, get things, get stuff, and then it tries to build its self-concept on this getting mechanism. And the more you get, the better in the ego's terms. So the ego always says, get while the getting's good, and get as much as you can while you can. And Jesus is saying, no, the teacher of God does not want anything he cannot give away. What would he want it for? He could only lose because of it. You see, Jesus is undoing this belief in getting. And so once you get into giving and the joy of giving, letting the Spirit perform miracles through your mind, you will never go back. You will be caught in the tractor beam of love. God is a giver, so if you want to be like God and be one with God, you just have to give as God gives. Not giving to get, just pure giving, like a flower radiating a fragrance, just radiating that fragrance into the air. There's no attempt to get anything back. So, it's the more you immerse in it, the more you start to realize that you actually enjoy communicating these happy ideas. You find you actually enjoy being happy and radiating happiness. It feels natural. It feels like the most natural thing ever to be happy and to radiate that happiness. And when you do that, you also find that everything else is completely taken care of. We talk about that. Francis and I talk a lot about divine providence, where everything is taken care of just as you accept your function. Absolutely everything. I see Micah and Amanda watching. They had a whole house drop in on them in Spain. And now they're just sitting in the house, enjoying what Jesus has provided. But that came very involuntarily. It just came as the function was accepted. So that's really the key. And I think I'm just so glad, Isabel, you just poured it out and wrote it, because that's something I'm sure everybody is considering too. If there's still things that are still attractive to me in the world, how do I go past that? is to let the joy inspire you. Let the light inspire you, and it will fade away. The rest will fade away. Yeah. Does that answer your question, or do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I feel like that's exactly what also came up again today. Like, I mean, all these coworkers that are buying houses and having kids, and I get all these questions about if I want those things, and feel like I need to invest my money and be smart about it. And I just feel like I'm playing this character throughout the day. There's something that upset me this morning, and I felt angry about it. And then I just go about the whole day at work. I try to be open about it and at least say that I'm feeling pissed off. But then other than that, there's just I just keep it in all day because I have no idea how to really share it in a way that we can actually be transparent about it. I feel like we're just joking about it all day and sort of dancing around what's really going on, and then there's not it's not and then I feel like, well, I'm not in a therapy group. I'm at work. I can't just bother my coworkers with this. We can't go out and take time to really talk this through, or to have the emotions come up. And then the rest of the day just feels like you're playing this character. And I feel like a lot of times when the moment I get into my car, I feel like just exhausted from from all these stories that I'm telling and that I'm hearing, and trying to sort of connect in this way of wearing that personality self. Yeah, that's really what it feels like a lot of times. It's like once I'm by myself, I'm like, actually that was really, really exhausting. Why did I do that? But I feel like I don't really know another way, or how to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's maybe helpful to think of because as we go through this world, we seem to develop skills and abilities, and then we do have at the back of our mind, what is this all for, and what am I doing this for, and where is my joy and my fulfillment? And then we do look around to friends, family, co-workers, and they're all going after the same thing. They're going after happiness by the means that they believe will bring them happiness. And then I think as we go much deeper, we start to question some of the means, and question just what you wrote in your question. Why am I doing this? I'm watching this character go through the motions with these things, and why do I want these specific things? Well, there's a lot of people around me that are talking about these specific things at work every day. And that the mind kind of goes, well, look, listen to all of that. It seems like everybody's going for some of the same things. I know, like with Francis, you had a career, you end up having your own company, you had a couple houses, you became very successful in the world's terms of being successful, and you had a high level of skills in a lot of areas. Even with travel, like you said, world travel, it was no big deal of booking flights and booking hotels and all the transportation that's involved in world travel. So, but I think the difference was it was the purpose. Once it got repurposed for undoing the self-concept instead of building the self-concept, it gets exhausting when we're trying to build something, like build a pile of nothing, but we think it's a pile of something. And then once we go the other direction, maybe you can talk about that, Francis, the skills were all there, but it was almost like you gave them over for the spirit. And that sure made our travels a lot easier because you were organized, efficient. We always had everything really taken care of because the spirit could use the skills that you had previously developed from your your prior work life and career life.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I feel like, truly we all really wanted to feel this sense of purpose and meaning in our life. And all these skills that I have developed was for the wrong reason in a way, because it was wanting to reach a place in the world, a status that I can feel secure and good about myself. Really, that was like a self-building, self-relying path. But once again, I feel the Spirit truly activated something for me, and probably for every single one of us here. It activates something that we realize, oh my God, I want something else. This is actually what is calling me this whole time. And what if I can give myself over to this? What if I can give more to this? What if I give all my life to this? And I didn't even know what it meant, but it didn't really feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna be left in the gutter, and you just, you don't know where. That's the ego's way of imagining the future is always extremely dark because there's no past reference. So it always come up with the worst case scenario to scare the mind from going forward. But really what happened is the Spirit is inside and saying, everything that you have developed, I'm gonna use it for a different purpose. You're still gonna be very, very helpful, but be really, truly helpful. Use that to spread the Spirit ease and trust. Use that to truly live and have a real experience of the love of the Spirit and radiate that. And all these other things just gonna make it very simple. So that's what I realized, all the organizational things and everything, even language and communication is becoming, none of it is really lost, none of it is wasted. I even, at one point, I think I had this, oh, what a waste. All this time I spent in school and education, what a waste. And the Spirit is like, no, that's mind training. That's mind training in some ways, but you need continuous mind training because your mind is still too wondrous, you too tolerate for mind wandering. So now keep using those disciplines that you have developed to keep the focus, keep your focus on the Spirit, and nothing is lost. So yeah, the travels and even now living in the community, everything that we do, we came up with this new project, and it's also what Spirit. It's a surprise to everybody, but then we say, okay, yes, let's all jump in, and everybody got activated with their skills. Perfect. Everybody's skill is so perfect, like a map. You play this piece, I play this piece, then it's a map coming out of it. And yeah, that's how it played out. But you don't have in mind of what is in there for you as a person anymore, because you wanted to give your person to the Spirit to serve the mind for peace. And that feels very, very joyful.
Yeah. I think it's too, when you're in kind of the workaday world, when you go to work, you go to work for so many hours a day, and you're surrounded by coworkers and bosses and people that you're collaborating with, your colleagues. And then in the kitchen, in the lunchroom, or whenever you meet, the chit chat is about achieving, accomplishing, buying. What are you going to buy? Oh, I buy this. When I get my money, well, what do you got? It's all about the currencies of the world. Time is a currency to be spent, the ego says, for the betterment of the body. Money is a currency spent for, what's that for, ego? The betterment of the body. Okay. And possessions are for what? The betterment of the body. And then the Spirit comes in and says, no, Uh, Time is not what you think it is. It's a projection. Einstein even knew that it's not an absolute. It's very relative. Even scientists say the same thing. Money is not what we think it is either, because we see it as a currency for exchange of goods and things and time and services, but it's not really what it's for. And the body is not an end. What Jesus says in the Course is, you believe that you can use the things of the world, time, money, possessions, for the betterment of the body. So they're seen as the means. That's why you need the money and the possessions and the time for the betterment of the body. But Jesus says, no, the body's not an end. The body is not an end. And in fact, the only means that you should focus on to be happy is the miracle. The miracle is a means, and revelation, direct contact with God, is the end. You see how different that is when God is the end? The source is the end. The miracles open your heart, open your mind, and take you toward the light, which is God. And so the miracles are the means and God is the end. And then as you go deeper into it, you see that the means and the end are not apart. And that's when you start to discover that the present moment holds everything that you would ever want. That anything you would ever truly want can be found right now. You know, in I Heart Huckabees, you know, that movie, basically the Dustin Hoffman character is existential detective. He says at one point, everything you could ever want or need, you already have and are. He says in that movie, everything you could ever want or need, you already have and are. But you see, this is why A Course in Miracles is saying we need to practice it, because we're so used to the things of the world being the means and the body being the end. And we don't realize that that's how we stay asleep. And we're just sleepwalking. You know, it's, you go to work and you think, oh, just another day, like the Beatles, do, it's just another day. You know, it's not a really happy song. It's kind of repetitive. It's kind of boring, actually, the human life. Brush your teeth, get out of bed. You know, you go through the same thing and you go to sleep at night. You do the next day the same thing. It's quite repetitive and boring. But actually, once you start to give your day over for miracles, you start to go, whoa, like Francis said, wide-eyed. What's this project? Where did this come from? Oh, it's brand new every day. You should see some of the projects we've been talking about lately. They're mind-expanding projects. But the basics is you have to see that human beings are just acting out the belief system that they believe in. And you have a lot of witnesses, at the beginning you have a lot of witnesses to time, money, betterment of the body, better future, bigger houses, bigger cars. You know, everybody's chasing the good life, not realizing that it's not the good life at all. It's sleep. It's mesmerism. It's hypnotism. It's not really happy at all. And if you sit down and talk to those people, even the ones that have the big houses, the cars, they're very pressured. They're stressed. If they have money, they're afraid of losing it. If they don't have money, they're spending all their time trying to get it. It's a bizarre system that the ego set up just to keep your mind from being a miracle worker. So, yeah, I think it's great that you asked this, because, you know, what you're bringing up is what everyone seems to go through. And then you're like just weighing the evidence every day. Like, okay, is this really bringing me fulfillment? And if it's not bringing me fulfillment, then that's the prayer of your heart. Like, show me the way. Please make it obvious. Intervene. Intervene in my mind. Yeah. Thank you, Isabel. We love you. Beautiful. Well, do you have any other ones we want to look at before we open it up, or what do you feel, Francis?
Well, I think we can open it up. I don't have any one that's standing out right now.
Okay. Very good. Well, I see we have some hands up. Johnny Laws down in Florida, he's had his hand up for some time. He was ready. He was ready to jump in there. Hi, Johnny. Jimmy. I'm sorry. I have to look twice here.
That's all right. That's all right, Charlie. I mean, David. I just to make a brief comment on what the last part of what you said. And I know Jesus says this in the Course somewhere. So God is both the means and the end. and the other thing I know too is that the problem and the solution are within me. The problem I have had, and still have to some extent, is the ego. It's the ego that's been driving me most of my life. And the solution is God. And God is within me. I just want to say, David, you are fabulous. I believe even though I've worked with Ken Wapnick, and he's in one of my questions, as a matter of fact. And I also love Gary Renard. It's the past 6 or 7 months since I've gotten involved with you. It's been great. As of the last session, I had read your book, Unwind Your Mind to God, Back to God. And I said I'd probably read it again. And I almost finished it again. And I got more out of it. It's powerful. Thank you very much for that. You're my hero. And you too, Francis, for linking up with this guy. And I don't mean that in any derogatory sense. If you want, I don't really have too much to ask you. So if you want, I'll just go through the little bit that I have here. And that is, the one is just a factual thing. At the last session, you indicated that sometime in December, you'll be in St. Augustine, Florida. And I was just wondering how to get more information on that, because I might be able to come over and see you face to face. I had a spiritual experience last night that was powerful, and I don't know if it's almost like God took the final step with me. It's interesting. I'm going through the lessons once again, and for the other. I've been studying the Course for over 23 years, not 33. And finally, I think I'm getting it. No, I've been making spiritual progress all the way through. But I had a spiritual experience last night. I was going to a 12-step meeting, and before the meeting, I might even ask me, I think it was before the meeting, it doesn't really matter. And the lesson I was studying yesterday that's very simple one. I am spirit, which Francis just threw out there so well in her discussion. And the spiritual experience I had, so simple, right? And it was, and I'll expand on this first statement. I am everything. And as I'm looking out on the parking lot, because I'm smoking a cigarette, watching all the world, which is a pretty busy area, stores and lights and some cars. So I said, I am everything, and you are nothing. And it was just, and it stayed with me. But I'm not doing that all the time. If I did, my body is nothing. I understand that. Everything in the world is nothing. It's all illusion. And I don't know. I guess one question is that like I'm almost there. I'm almost. This should be a question. I'm almost at that level of transcending the world, like you have done. Oh, and here's a question with Ken Watman. My only other question. I mentioned last month that Ken Watman and I were pen pals, and also went to his sessions quite a bit for the 2-year period before he passed. And so I believe I asked him, what would you like me to do? What kind of homework do you want? And at one point he said, I want you to tell me what your special function is. So I think this went back and forth. I never got it until maybe the past week, perhaps, you know. And so I tried to answer as best I could after studying the material in the course on that. And but the one thing I remember him saying is, no, that's not it. If that was it, then your special function would be different than mine. And the light that came to me was simple. The 2 simple lessons in the course. I am the light of the world, and I came for the salvation of the world. So if what Ken was saying to me is that my function is the salvation of the world, and I'm not going to go on a crusade on it, I understand that, right? Then, you know, we would all have the same function. And that's the end of my question. But I really like frogs, because frog stands for fully relying on God. So this is one of the happy frogs we have around our house.
I like the eyeballs. Thank you, Jimmy. Well, actually, Andy typed into the chat, you requested information for St. Augustine, so it's typed in to the chat. Just look into the chat function. It's right there. And then let's see, the second thing was, what was the second thing, Francis? Do you remember I remember the third thing was a question about special function. I always focused on the last one. Oh, it was, I think, maybe around the experience that you were having. You were just saying, you were hearing, I am everything, and you were saying to the world, and you are nothing. What a beautiful, beautiful statement. And it fits perfectly with what Jesus tells us in the Course. There's one part in the Course, I think it's in the workbook, where Jesus says, you are the goal the world is searching for. Something struck me when I first read that in the Course. I was like, well, they never taught me that in Sunday school. I could just see in Sunday school hearing, you are the goal the world is searching for. But the Christ is the point of everything, you know, because know thyself, the first question that was ever asked is, what am I? And the answer is, I am spirit. Your lesson. Your lesson is the answer to the question. And therefore, the I am spirit is the goal that the world is searching for. The world is a misdirected attempt to find identity in time and space and form. And yet the I am presence, the spirit, is the goal the world is searching for. And then the last one, that's beautiful that you bring up special function, because our only function is to be the light of the world. Our only function is forgiveness. And Jesus tells us in lesson 132, there is no world apart from what you think. And then he says, there is no world, period. That's pretty strong. He's teaching us that our function is to accept who we are as the light, and that God will reveal that to us, because it was given us in creation and it's still there. And so it will be revealed. Now, the special function, all I think that is it seems that in form, things look different, but actually, when you accept the atonement, you see that all the forms are the same. And that your right mind is different than your wrong mind. The only distinction you make is, oh, my right mind is very different from my wrong mind. My right mind is my reminder of truth. The wrong mind's an illusion. So when you make that final acceptance, then suddenly you see everything, the stars, the planets, the cars, the mountains, the bodies, it's all just the same. And that's why Jesus told Helen Schuckman one year, right around Christmas time, they were getting ready for another year, and Jesus said, make this year different by making it all the same. He was just encouraging her to just see it with me, and you'll see that everything you perceive is an illusion, without exception. And that's where the mind training comes in, because as you've shared with us recently, you've got a wife, you've got children, you're just looking upon the world and praying with the Holy Spirit, please let me see that I am everything and the world is nothing. So thank you. And thanks for showing us the frog. Those eyes are wide open and happy eyes. We love you, Jimmy. Thank you. Okay, there we go. I said Johnny. It was a premonition of Faye and Johnny Jacks. Maybe we should try there. Now see, I get to talk to Johnny, Jimmy, and Johnny.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought Alma was next for some reason. So I'm kind of caught off guard here. And I still, just like last month, I still feel like that octopus with all of these sticky notes out on each tentacle with all these things I'm going to talk to you about. But I can only pick one, right? And you can tell Peter to keep his finger off that mute button for me. I'll try not to talk as much as I did last time. It was only 30 minutes. Why did he mute me? Hey, I'm not so sure that I fully understand what a miracle is. I kind of have a vague idea, but I'm not absolutely sure, but I think I'm getting a little better with it. And I wanted to give you a little example of something that happened between Faye and me a few days ago, and just get your feedback on it. And some of the things that I'll say probably may or may not be accurate, so I need either positive affirmation that what I'm thinking is true or either correction of it. So anyway, down to business here. Faye and I got into a little tussle the other day. I said, I told her something that she had a negative reaction to. And the next thing you know, she's in her defensive mode. I'm in my defensive mode, right? It's back and forth. And it's like from out of the blue, something hit me. It said, hey, stop this. It didn't, there weren't words or anything, but just sort of like a calmness came over me and said, hey, let's take a look at this. And we stopped and we looked at it. And I said, okay, well, let's just take a look at the elements. We know, let's get realistic here. Our bodies are like, like a doorknob or that light switch or that air vent. Our bodies are nothing. That's one of the elements. Another element is that we are spirit. We know we're spirit, and here's where I think I'm right about this, but it's sort of like, but that part of the spirit that is controlling us, like we're marionettes or whatever, believes that it is our bodies. That's an element of it. And those spirits believe that they have a history of some sort on this earth. With me, I started off, I could go back to where I was a little kid. I was a Huckleberry Finn kid and living in a slave house. My dad was a sharecropper, barefoot. I got shoes in the 3rd grade, it was great. And Faye came up in a family of 6 in a small house with 1 bathroom. So she has these memories, or at least her spirit that believes it's her body has these memories, right? So, but I just had this thing that said, hey, stop this. I mean, you're attacking one another, and you already know that you're looking at each other as if you're bodies, and you know you're not bodies, yet and still you're doing this stupid stuff. And which, little side notes, when we got on a one sentence, we're going back through the workbook, and through the first review right now. And there was just one sentence that we spent 2 days talking about, and it I can't quote it for you, but it's basically that it had to do with placing value in this world. I can't remember the exact quote, but it hit me that, and relating it to what we were doing at that time, I said, we're placing value on this argument in this world. So we're placing value on something in this world, and we're forgetting that we are spirit. We're not bodies, and we don't really have these past experiences, and we don't have family members. There's no special relationship that we have anywhere that is real. Even though now I'm looking at her and I'm still seeing the body, and she's looking at me seeing the body, and we're looking at you on the here on the monitor. We got the big monitor here and a little one here where the camera is. Then this is real, isn't it? No, it's not. And so we discussed that for a while, and then peace came over us, and there was a point in which I was when I first felt this. Faye didn't feel it. I did. This first thing, it said, "Hey, stop this. This is not right. Let's take a look at this." And it took a second for her, and I started getting irate because she wouldn't listen to me. That was another thing, sort of a problem within a problem, and I went back to it. And then she started realizing I wasn't arguing the points of this stupid thing that we were having this little pissing contest over. And another calmness came over me, and I just sat and discussed it with her, and it's just a beautiful thing. Just like, wow, it's sort of like I just took another step. I'm not going to continue on arguing about something. It just didn't make any sense. All of a sudden, it's not making any sense. And Faye said, "Well, now that sounds like a miracle to me." And that's what I'm saying. I'm going back and thinking, well, what's a miracle? Was this a miracle? Was it not a miracle? I don't know. But anyway.
Yeah. Well, maybe
got his hand on up.
Yeah. Maybe I can just give a quick little, a simple kind of definition of the miracle that will help, simplify things. A miracle simply sees the false as false. That's all a miracle is. It's just seeing the false as false. And when you talk about seeing a body, Jesus is very helpful. He says the denial of the body is the inappropriate use of denial. But he also goes on to point out that it's our attitude and our state of mind that is our best touchstone to the miracle. How do I feel? Wow, if we could ask ourselves one question and be honest, how do I feel? How do I feel in this moment? That turns us back to the miracle. That brings us back into being able to see the false as false. And I know you like to follow along with a lot of stuff that we do. I just had a session at the monastery yesterday where I used the Star Trek episode number 10 from the new Star Trek series, Strange New Worlds. It was all about time, the captain having a premonition of the day he would die, and everybody, he knew what would happen, and then his future self came and visited him and basically was showing him that whatever you think and value about time in the future is blocking you from full appreciation right now. So I think you and Faye, that'll come out on Spreaker probably in a couple days or a day or two. If you have a chance, watch that episode 10 from Strange New Worlds, and you guys will have, then listen to the commentary, because basically when we feel like we are tempted to be in a little bit of an argument, or as you say, a pissing contest, if when we're tempted to be into that, what it is really just the valuing of time. We value time more than the present moment. And that's where that arises from the unconscious. It's a little, sometimes just getting rubbed the wrong way, but it's just the valuing of time more than the present moment. That's in the simplest way. And the miracle brings you back to the present. By just stopping for an instant, calm feeling washes over you, and you just see the false as false. And you go, oh, thank you, Jesus. That's just what I needed, that calm feeling coming over. So, yeah, thank you both. Francis, do you have anything coming to mind?
Well, I do feel like, Jesus talk about miracle as well. He says miracle per se doesn't matter, but it's the love behind it. So in that sense, anything that comes from love is a miracle. And that comes to that experience that you're having, like when you're caught in this, am I right, you're right? But then in this brief moment when you pause and there's like this calm feeling, yes, that's a miracle, because that's really what extends out. That is the true miracle, is the source behind the so-called form and how it plays out. And that is what is true for us, is this kind of experience to convince us, is at our grasp if we ask for it. So.
Thank you. Thank you both. Lovely, lovely. Miracles in action. Love it. And I see now we have Alma. So everybody make sure your language is set to your home language if you at the bottom of Zoom. So we'll be able to hear Alma's talk in English, and she'll be able to hear us in Spanish. Beautiful.
It's okay in English. Hello, everybody.
Oh.
Karen, I can see you, Karen. Okay, Francis, everybody. Un beso para Marina. Mwah, Marina, you know I love you. Okay, let's talking about miracles. So let me tell you something. Yesterday, I went with my two daughters, who are already grown up, to a Jonas Brothers concert here in Monterrey, Mexico. So when they were little, my daughters, I took them, in the Mama Mobile to the concerts, and now they are grown ups, and the Jonas Brothers are married and they have kids, but they're still doing this new work with music. And we went to the concert yesterday, and where we had 2 hours of singing, shouting, dancing, and all this color flashes, lights, fireworks, and everybody happy. And I have to be honest, I didn't remember the lyrics of any of the songs. I don't remember anyone, but I was just dancing and la 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 la. Suddenly, in the middle of the one of the songs, everybody was la la la, and I start crying. I don't know. I was so happy. I was so good. And with that song, I start crying, and I can stop it. I can stop the tears from my eyes. So when we leave there, I said, I don't know what happened. When I heard this song, I start crying, and I don't know if it's a miracle or not. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, let me tell you what the song, I searched for the lyrics. If the heart is always searching, can you ever find a home? I've been looking for that someone. I'll never make it on my own. Dreams can't take the place of loving you. There's gotta be a million reasons why it's true. When you look me in the eyes and tell me that you love me, everything's all right. When you're right here by my side, when you look me in the eyes, I catch a glimpse of heaven. I find my paradise. When you look me in the eyes, how long will I be waiting to be with you again? I'm gonna tell you that I love you in the best way that I can. I can take a day without you here. You're the light that makes my darkness disappears. And when I read that, I say, oh, that was the Holy Spirit talking to me. You know, you love songs too, David. Well, everybody now we do love songs. So that's what, and my surprise was I was not conscious of that happening but my spirit was, you know, feeling the connection, pouring tears, and I said, what's happening? I don't know. Just in that song, and when I read it, I said, oh, that was it.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to share with you.
Oh, thank you, Alma. Thank you. That's beautiful. That happens to us a lot too, where you aren't even conscious of the lyrics, and you feel the heart opening and you're crying, and then later on you check out the lyrics and you go, oh my God, that was the Holy Spirit. And I've watched two Jonas Brothers documentaries when they were younger and they were in the Christian church, and then when they left to write their popular songs and were kind of kicked out of the church, and then when they got married, and the Jonas Brothers famous partner, what's her, Priyanka Chopra, and this and that. So that's beautiful, and to me that I love that that lyric came to you, because that is a God calling lyric, and a God providing lyric, and a breakthrough kind of lyric, and that's what we're calling forth. That's what we're praying for, is to be lifted up. And thank you for sharing that, because that's a perfect example of a miracle, and you didn't even know what was going on, but you started crying. Couldn't hold back the tears of joy. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Alma. I always love the paintings behind Alma. She's got the most lively paintings. Okay, looks like Terry. Come on, hi there.
Hi, David, Francis, and everybody. I wanted to share about something that keeps coming up is I talk a lot, and Billy, my husband, he does the best he can, but it was worrying me, and because I have to tell him something sometime, I just have to tell him, and he's not listening. He never listens. And I tell Jesus, he never listens. He doesn't even know I'm here. He doesn't know my routine. It seems I'm invisible, you know? And I felt something. It said, just look at him. And I looked at him, and he wasn't looking at me. And I just looked at him and looked at him. And he's so precious. He never wants to disagree, ever. He will tell what seems to be a lie rather than disagree. And he's such, and I asked to Jesus, I said, what can I learn? I know he has a lot to teach me, but what can I learn while I think he has to hear what I have to say? I don't know if he's not able to, because I feel like we're both retarded. But and you know what happened? It said, the only thing I could truly share with him is love. And when I want to tell him something, I'm sharing. It could be love, but the only thing he hears is if I love him. And it made all the difference in the world. And then later on during the day, it was really something. But later on during the day, I heard, it just made me feel so good. That was the answer I needed to hear. I needed to look at him and let Jesus help me see him that I always knew he was. That's why I'm with him. His heart is big as the world. And I just felt so good all day. And then guess what came to mind, David Francis? And it's a song I maybe heard twice in my life, but as soon as the title came in, I knew it. And it was just the title I wanted. I didn't look it up or nothing. And I said, Jesus, you're giving me crystal blue persuasion. That's just how it felt for, most of the day. And the world came in, but in bed, I slept so good. I didn't wake up at 3 a.m. Even when I wake up at 3 a.m, I laugh at things that I see differently. But I thought, once you decide to be happy, he won't let you get upset. That's just how my, I don't know how long it's been going on, but in every moment, there's something to be happy about. And things are falling away, and I don't want to do anything but this. I'm content. And I want to go wherever I go. And I just wanted to share that because I can't tell Billy.
You shared it with all of us. Oh, that's beautiful, Teresa. I know that song, Crystal Blue Persuasion. Oh yeah, it's a good vibration. I know that song. And the thing is, that's a miracle you're sharing with us, because Jesus always says, do never correct a brother, because he's always right. Even if he's speaking from his ego, he's still always right. And your one assignment is to tell him in your attitude and in the way you carry yourself that he's right, because he's the Christ. And so your beautiful crystal blue persuasion miracle is that you're married to a man, Billy, who will not disagree with you. That is a miracle story if I've ever heard one. All right, for every wife or husband out there, are you listening to this crystal blue persuasion miracle? Terry is married to a man named Billy who cannot and will not disagree with her. Well, that says it all right there. I don't have to say another word for that. Oh, thank you. That's so beautiful. Isn't that a heartwarming story? And she could share it with all of us. And bless us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Karen Carpenter.
Hi. Okay, so I have questions. So I've been doing this for a couple of years, and I just finished mystery school. And one of the main takeaways from mystery school was just really getting honest with myself about what's going on, and I'm encountering so much resistance. And so taking a look at that, I'm coming to the conclusion that I I like the body. I like human experience. I like human existence, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so I had to really admit that to myself. And I don't even know where to go with this. When I look at that, I feel like I'm retrogressing and not making progress. And so I feel like I can't open up the book and do a workbook lesson. I feel like it impedes me from moving forward in the study of the course. And I have a strong trauma background, and something that I read earlier, a long time ago, said that hyper independence is a trauma response. And I think that that's running constantly in the background because I've always prided myself on being a very, very independent person. So this whole idea of turning my life over to Jesus and the Holy Spirit and just taking my hands completely off the wheel feels absolutely terrifying. And I think my big fear is that this is going to be a path of deprivation, that Jesus is standing there waiting to rip the rug right out from underneath me if I turn my life over. And so I wondered if you could just speak to that feeling of retrogression, that feeling that I'm failing, that deep unworthiness, I think that really drives this whole wanting to stay anchored in human existence and the body and everything that the ego thinks it offers, because I'm noticing also that I just feel really alone most of the time. And no house is going to fix that. I know that. No amount of money is going to fix that. I really understand that, but it's like I can't let go of that. I'm conflicted, very conflicted, and I wondered if you could speak to that.
Yeah, I think Francis and I can both speak to that. I again come back to this episode. I showed episode 10 yesterday at the monastery from the Strange New Worlds Star Trek, where there actually was on the internet, there was a series called Flash Forward where human beings were given a flash of how they would die, the circumstances they would die, how they would die, whether they were alone or with people and everything. And in that series, the people reacted one of two ways. Some people, when they had the premonition of the death of their personality, of their person, reacted in fear, and it led them down a very fearful way of living. And some reacted with loving surrender. They were grateful. They took something from that premonition that lit their heart up, and they thrived, and they beamed and they shined from that moment on. And so in the episode that I'm showing, out of all the Star Trek episodes, this is the only captain who's had a premonition like 7 years into the future of exactly how he will die and who will die with him. And then it kicked in that preservation kind of mode that you were talking about. For him, he would kind of forget about it, but then if something would happen to trigger the memory, it would jolt him. Until finally his future self came and visited him, the future self of Captain Pike, and basically said, the decisions that you're making, it's not going to turn out well in the future. It's going to be very dark, and it's a very dark, dismal future. And yet the future self said, here, I brought a little time crystal, and all you have to do is touch it, and you'll go with me into that future, that dismal future. So you can see it for yourself. And you can see how your decisions will play out. And it never goes well in the future. It never goes well, in the sense that the only way Jesus tells us is we can have a future different from the past is by the miracle, is by the grace of God. We can have an intervening miracle and take on a new purpose in the present moment that will shine a happy future. It will literally shine a bright, happy future but we will have to have a change. So both Francis and I watched that episode, and I did a whole commentary, which should be coming out. I think Andy will post on the chat when it's coming out. But that was part of the convincing. In other words, that's what I hear you saying is like, wow, I've already been pretty well convinced that there's some value to the human experience of linear time and space. Now I need a miracle because I feel alone and stuck. I've even been through mystery school, but I'm feeling pretty alone and stuck here. And it's very much that's what we're praying for, is we're praying for the miracle to show us, you might say, an alternate view of the world that is lighthearted. And when I joined with Francis this morning, when we had on the call, Francis was just bubbling and bubbling, saying, oh, there's a swirl of energy inside, and I'm just so happy, and I'm lighthearted, and I'm just bubbling. And really, it will just take just a circumstance shown to us in a new light where we change our tune. We were stuck in an old tune there in the past. We're pretty addicted to it. It was more of a funeral dirge. It's not a happy tune. And now we want to change our tune. And I just hear you saying, Karen, oh my gosh, that's what I'm joining with you for. I really want that change of tune. I want to have a happy step in my walk. I want to be tap dancing around my house here. And really dancing in love, in the light of love. So, Francis, is there anything coming to you? That's just what came to me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you can share this, because I know that when you came to the mystery school, throughout the mystery school, Elisa and I sometimes would join, and then there is clearly, like, what you're expressing was this huge victim mentality throughout your life that was massive. And right now, here you are, you're saying, I realize I want this. And that to me is not regression, it's a progression. Because you're basically at the doorway where you actually can choose differently. Because you recognize, I'm not a victim of any of the things. I chose this, I want this. Okay, now, if I have chosen all of this, and I realize I'm left here lonely and it's not a good experience, then what? Maybe I can choose differently. And I feel this is beautiful to be able to share, and how the ego's voice is telling you, but it's not true. And what David and I here can just witness back to you, that this is where you're at right now, is where you can choose a different experience, because the mind is ready to say, yes, I have the power. I can see that now. And then we join in that prayer to have a different perspective of the world.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for coming on and verbalizing that. We did have a very similar question from Trude de Boer in the Netherlands, who also was saying, I feel the desire in me not to be afraid of those empty days, and ask Jesus to look at this loneliness with me and not running away from it. Feeling lonely is all around the body, I know. When I think I am a body, I feel lonely when there are no other bodies around me, but that is not the truth. Is this again a time problem which I have to forgive? And is this also holding on to the past and believing in the past? Is it only my interpretation of being alone that causes this terrible feeling of loneliness? And I'm glad between both of you, you're really, Trude, you're right onto it. It is a time thing. Like I was saying to Johnny Jacks and his wife, I was saying that if you pull everything away from everything, then you can see that there's either a value in linear time or there's a value of the present moment. And Jesus is working to convince us that the present moment offers us everything. Because as we go deeper into the present, we do get taken beyond the body. As Jesus says, there's no single instant does the body exist at all. It's always remembered or anticipated. So you can see the body's part of that projection of past and future. It's just false imagination. We've just seemed to fill our mind with these false thoughts and beliefs that God didn't create. And then our prayer is, heal my unbelief. If I'm not really fully ready to believe in forgiveness and the happy dream, the prayer of the heart is, Lord, heal my unbelief. Heal my doubting mind. Heal my suspicious mind. What am I suspicious of? What? The present moment? I'm suspicious of the present moment. And I'd rather dance around in past and future than give over to this glorious moment. So Francis and I were saying we're kind of the mystical branch of A Course in Miracles. We are the mysticism branch of the saints and the mystics that go for complete release of time and space and go for the direct experience of God. And thank you to Karen, and thank you to you, Truda, for articulating that, wow, this loneliness is heavy. I am praying for to be lifted up beyond this feeling of loneliness. And you put it right in your question. Jesus does say in the Course, you really believe that you would be lonely without another body. He's actually asking us to question even companionship. And most people would say, well, that's not a problem. Companionship isn't a problem. But if you believe that you're alone without another body, then that is specialness. Just the belief. It's a time belief. It's a belief like, okay, on the timeline, we have a single body of Truda or a single body of Karen Carpenter, and the egos go on, not good, not good. You would be so much happier if you had another body in that house. And then there are people watching that are going, oh, I've got another body in the house, and that didn't necessarily solve the. I've got companionship, all right, but I need some crystal blue persuasion like Teresa. I need a body in the house that will never disagree with me, like Billy. You see? So the ego can come up with all these things, but really, I thank you both, Karen and Truda, for just going at that topic, because there is something much deeper, and it is the belief in the past and the belief in linear time. That's saying it straight, that's really giving it straight. Yeah. Thank you. Okay, it looks like Tamari. Dr. Tamari. I love it. Now we can get into some science and quantum physics here.
Hopefully not. Hi. Hi.
Hi.
So nice to be with you. Yeah, I have a question about miracle worker, a definition maybe you can give to me. Why I'm asking this, maybe a bit of background. It's probably most probably my personal feeling that if we define that there are miracle workers, then there should be people who ignore miracles or those who are not open. And when I talk to some students of Course in Miracles, like they feel or they report very often that they feel tortured or absolutely unhappy when they need to work, to be confronted with everyday life and to meet colleagues who are not spiritual enough and like as if we understood something and they not. And it's like like we are open for miracles and they are not. And on one side, I really what I would like to share to everybody, that how I experienced by myself, that whatever I do, even the things I hate doing, when I do it from the place of serving God, and I can serve God everywhere, even just, cleaning, right? And to take this, I mean, I recently talked to Sabine also, who contacted me here from Germany, and she was telling me also, like, yeah, this is kind of, makes her so, like, all of us want to come to Mexico, right? and to serve and to be miracle workers like you, because all of you are shining such a light, and we feel, okay, we're not good enough because we need to go to work and do stupid things to serve ego. Yeah. And I never been in Mexico. I wish I could do that one day, but still, I have a feeling that we can be miracle workers, and we should be miracle workers where we are, what we do, and there is not work which is not worthy of doing when we do it from love, when we love the colleagues. I mean, when I go to work, I just pray for all the people I meet. I try to share the love love of God I feel to my colleagues, and so on. It's just to maybe soften the definition of miracle work and not to make it so rigid.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Tamari. There's a prayer at the beginning of A Course in Miracles. In the early editions, it was on page 24. Then in the third, it was on page 28. But it starts out with, I am here only to be truly helpful. So when you look at those two words, truly helpful, and if that's the prayer that Jesus wants us to pray, he just keeps wanting us to open up to our most helpful state of mind. We'll say, where we just are so bright and so purified that we just radiate the love of God to everyone and everything, regardless of time and space, just blazing light. Now, that truly helpful is the stepping stone ideas. There are people, even with Ramana Maharshi, he lived with his family, his mother, his brother, and then he just got really inspired to just leave everything behind, and he went down to a mountain called Arunachala, and he spent decades in just complete stillness. And then people came from all over the world. There's actually movies that have been made about his life and so forth, but he just was in such a state of bliss and stillness that people came from all over the world just to come and sit in the same room where he was. So there are these stepping stone ideas when we keep praying, Lord, let me be truly helpful. I'm here only to be truly helpful. And that takes us more into a state of deep, deep prayer and devotion. Mary Magdalene, before she met Jesus, she had a father, she had brothers and sisters. She was living in Magdala. She walked out to hear this long-haired, bearded guy talk one day, and she left it all behind. She just kept following him all the way the rest of her life. And then she went across the Mediterranean, went to France, and had an amazing life of teaching and mysticism and stillness. And there's steps along the way where it's not a matter of, there's no special places. You're right. There's nothing special about Mexico or Germany or any United States, any country. No special countries, no special locations. It's just the prayer to allow the miracle to come through you. And that's what you're doing. The Spirit reaches us right where we believe we are. You've had a beautiful career as a doctor, as a scientist. You have students, you have clients, you have people that you see, and you can be very helpful right in that perception, with the light coming through you, with the way you smile and you laugh and you're lightheartedness, and your attitude just is teaching. Just your attitude is teaching everything and everyone around you. And then, as you go deeper and deeper with the spiritual journey, the spirit is going towards a purification, in the sense that it starts to take everything toward just the state of mind, where, like Francis was saying, well, oh, I love my life and I just am happy and everything around me just seems to be taken care of. And, you know, Francis had career and profession. I had career and profession. Jesus was a carpenter. For God's sake, before he started going around and saying, I am the way, the truth, and the life, and healing the sick and raising the dead, he was using wood. He was building houses. You know, you see how it's a progression. Buddha, he was in a beautiful temple palace with his dad, and his dad wanted him to be the king. And then someday he just got this song, this calling in his heart, this beautiful melody he'd never heard before, and he walked out of the palace. He let go of his mom, his dad. He let go of being king. He wanted to find the pathway, the middle way that was beyond suffering and beyond the temptations of the world, the pleasures of the world. He wanted to find the middle way. And off he went, and he one day, it was no longer Siddhartha, it was the Buddha. Ooh, the Buddha. You see, first we have Jesus the carpenter and the Christ. So we have Tamari in Germany, and then, ooh, what is in there? You see, you're just asking the miracle to take you up, to beam you. You're just asking to be taken. What did you say, Francis? Sucked in. Your prayer is just, okay, God, suck me in. And in the meantime, that light is so practical, it will just say the words and shine the light with those clients, with those that are surrounding the Tamari character. You see how practical that is? And all you have to do is stay with that. There's no comparison. There's no comparison. We aren't trying to compare, because that's what you're asking. You know, it's like, are miracle workers any more special than regular people? And Jesus is saying, I'm calling everybody to be in the miracle, and all are called, but few choose to listen. You see how different that is from the Bible. The chosen ones, the Jews are the chosen ones. It seems like when you're the chosen ones, that everybody else is the unchosen ones. But God is saying everybody wants to be happy. Everyone is called. And though there are those who choose to listen, and that they will come into that happiness and joy by that inner listening. But in the end, Jesus says, everyone will listen. Isn't that beautiful? Everyone will hear the call. Everyone will listen. How inclusive, how wonderful that is. But I totally agree with you. There's no point in making distinctions between miracle workers and these people and those people, or these jobs and those jobs. I think the miracle is the healing of the mind, and all of us want to be healed in the mind, regardless of the profession or the role. Everybody underneath just wants to be happy. And if miracles are the way to happiness, then I just am encouraging everyone, just listen to your intuition, listen to your inner calling. But I don't really care whether people believe in God or not. I have just as much fun with atheists, just as much fun with agnostics, just as much fun with scientists as believers in God, you know, what they call religious people. I like the philosophers, I like the psychologists, I like the mothers and the fathers and the babies and the teens and the elderly. I like that song. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony, where we're all holding hands together, and we're all swaying to the same song. And that's the greatest joy. That's what it's all about. Thank you. Well, it looks like we have time. Maybe I haven't been looking at the time, but we have time for maybe one more question. I see Angelica and Wesley are there, and then we can wrap it up for our first session here.
Hola todos.
Hi.
Thanks, Francis. Thanks, David. I was sitting here and I had stuff coming up. I wasn't able to seemingly focus. I was like wondering what was going on. I looked at my Facebook, and a close friend of mine posted and said, "It's so wonderful to be vulnerable in a public space. Feels so good." And so here I am. I've had a belief coming up this week that feels pretty strong, and the emotions that come with it. There's rage and all sorts of things, and now I feel like I'm in touch with grief, but what it seems like, and I'll just put it very direct, is like fat women don't deserve love. And so I have this picture in my mind of what a woman is supposed to look like at the beginning of this session. Isabel came up, and it was like I saw her, and she's this picture of this woman that's supposed to look like. And instantly I feel all this guilt and all this shame. And it's like the ego doesn't want to let go of this. I don't know what it is. I mean, it's like, I remember being 14 years old and putting all these pictures of models up on my wall, and they like Cindy Crawford and whatever, they're tall, thin, and whatever. And yeah, I just see all this love around me. And sometimes it comes from bodies that I have this perception that are not okay, and it feels really I don't want to be disconnected from this. So I pray for the miracle. Let me see the false as false. Please let me release this belief. Holy Spirit, I don't know what else to do. I don't know why the mind doesn't seem ready to let this go. It's just the same perception over and over and over again. And I'm committed until it's finished, and I really hope it's finished. When I hear this little voice still in the back of my mind, that's like the doubt thought of, it's not finished. You still want it. You're still going to believe in it. You're still going to try and get things from bodies, from women that look in this way that you think they're supposed to look, and reject everything else. But I don't want to believe that voice. I don't want to. It just is just pure suffering. There's nothing in it, really. There's no truth in it. It just doesn't feel joyous. Like, I don't know if it's wanting to hold on to an identity around suffering or what, but please help me. I don't know what else I can do.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing that, because the reason that things are repressed and pushed into the unconscious mind is because they have already been judged as shameful, as horrific, and that's why they're pushed out of awareness, because The ego says, just don't even think about that. We'll push it out of awareness, and then they break through. And then you're just saying, I feel enormous shame when these patterns and these thoughts come from the unconscious mind. Remember, Jesus says that the unconscious mind is the dream you dream in secret. So they're hidden, but they break up into awareness with enormous shame and horrific intensity. One time, Francis and I went to, we were in China, and somebody asked me a question about sexuality, and the Spirit, Jesus and the Holy Spirit came through me in the most joyful way. It was like a stand-up comedian. I've never seen Jesus and the Holy Spirit address sexuality with such humor. And I think they made a video of it that's still available. It's very rare, but it's still available, called Healing the Shame Around Sexuality. And Jesus was poking fun at the body and the different orifices of the body where the fluids come out, and which ones the fluid should come out, and when it should come out, and when it should go in. Jesus was, in one talk, he was doing a stand-up comedian talk in China about food addictions, drinking addictions, sexuality. The fluids should come out of this, but not that. And it's shameful if they come out of this. And if you put this body part here and in this orifice, and that's terribly shameful. And Jesus was poking fun at the whole thing. He went after sexuality and eating addictions and everything in one thing. Now, since I know you play the guitar, you should put some of these thoughts that are the most shameful thoughts you can come up with, you should put them down in a song. And you should get your guitar out and write them all out, and you and Angie can laugh and sing the song. Now, if you think, has that ever been done? Yeah, there was a guy named Randy Newman. Does everybody remember the song Short People? You remember that one? Randy Newman did a song years ago. Short people have no reason to live. He put all of his private thoughts into a song, and it actually got popular. He actually played it on the radio, and I'm like thinking, oh man, this guy has gone off the charts, because he wrote I don't think people would say that's politically correct to write a song titled Short People, and it was all derogative. He had nothing good to say about short people. I just laughed, because the more you can let the thoughts up, and you can write a song about it and sing it and laugh at it, you can laugh at the ego. You can say, all right, you've been hiding all these thoughts. Now I'm going to write a song, and I'm going to laugh at all of these thoughts, which is what I did with that song that Randy Newman did. I would listen to it and I would go, at first I was like, whoa, how'd you get that on the radio? And second of all, I thought, no, this is just for me to laugh at a bunch of judgments packed into one song. So that's what I would recommend. That's the way you get out of it. That way you're not trying to fight the ego. You're like saying, oh yeah, you want to come at me with those shameful thoughts? I'm going to write a song, and I'm going to turn it into a comedy act. Because Jesus is capable of seeing beyond the error. So to Jesus, there are no shameful thoughts. He's just like, just give them to me and we'll laugh at this, because he knows they're not real. That's why it's funny. It's a gentle laughter when you can allow those things up. And don't think of it in terms of it's Wesley's thoughts. These are just unconscious ego thoughts that are coming up for a good laugh. And that's the best way to look at it. That's why I still think that video is out there, Francis, somewhere, healing the shame of around sexuality. Yeah.
I think also we have been in China, and that is our dedicated translator. He has been translating, and he never really got the chance to have any counseling or one-on-one or questions with David, because he was always sitting up there with us. And there was maybe one last gathering, and David was asking people to come up to the stage in front of hundreds of people to have a one-on-one in front of everyone. And he sitting up there like, I have to use this opportunity to spill out all my thoughts. And that has served for now decades, still this is really where we can see it's so miracles benefits people you don't even know and meet, because from what he was sharing, a lot of the people even in the audience or later on, they're saying, yeah, that was exactly what I'm thinking, I can't believe that someone could just share it. Then I feel relieved. I'm not alone in this, I'm not guilty. But that was, I remember that, how courageous he was. Just, I am not going to translate. He put down his microphone. He walked off the translation. So I was like, okay, I will step in now.
Yeah, that was beautiful. Because Albert had traveled with us, and he had translated all of my writings into Mandarin, and it had proliferated all over China. So people from all corners, all edges of China got to read these deep teachings because of his devotion, because of his years of devotion to translate them all. So when we go over there the first time, there's 100 people. We go over there again, there's 225 people, because they had been so touched by these teachings. But more than the teachings, I think it was our presence, where we invited them to share their private thoughts, invited them to open up about their people-pleasing. And in the culture, there had been so much repressed that when we said, share with us what's going on, it was like an explosion, like a volcanic eruption, because so much was denied and repressed. But remember, anything that's denied and repressed has already been judged against. It's already been judged as shameful and pushed down. It's been judged as horrific and pushed down. And now that's the function for you and Angie. You're using the relationship for healing, for yourselves and for everyone. It's literally for the whole universe. You're doing this for the whole universe. And I remember with Albert, when he would translate for me or take us around, when Francis and I were there, he oftentimes would talk about, I don't have a relationship, I want a girlfriend, I'm shameful about sexuality, I have a lot of guilt feelings. He was pretty open with us that he was tortured. He had done these years of translating the teachings, but individually he felt tortured. And that was the time when that was the opportunity to let it all up and let it all out in front of everybody, in front of a large group of people in China, in his own country. He stood up there and he talked about all his shame. And then, wow, Jesus and the Holy Spirit, they're the masters at laughing at nothingness. And just try on what Jimmy was saying a little bit earlier. I am everything. The world is nothing. That'll put a hush to the shame thoughts. I am everything. The world is nothing. You see, that's deep. That's going into your Christ self and claiming your strength, claiming your magnitude, claiming your spirit. And what a topic. I don't know which one is more popular, food or sexuality. Food, sexuality, or money? I could see in 10 years you and Angie can go around, do a tour around the world titled Healing Food, Sexuality, and Money Issues. And you'll have so many parables. They'll try to say, you don't know how bad we've got it. You'll say, oh, listen, we've lived through that. We've been there. We've been there, brother. We've been there, sister. And then you can speak from experience of transcendence. That's how it works. Then you can shine the light and really say Jesus and the Spirit are alive and well, and they're funny and they're light and they're humorous and they're so loving. They just shower us with love every day. So thank you. Thank you both for serving in this way. Yeah, it's good.
I
Hi.
really want to say thank you so much, and thank you, Wes. And I want to express that it's the first time I think, I don't remember others, that when Wesley expressed this stuff, I feel peaceful. I know trigger anything in me and feel like grateful, like, oh God, something is released in my own mind. And I think that this mirror that you expressed that both Frances and you, David, and was my witness in my mind that I can laugh. It's like, it's enough. I I cry and I express a lot of emotion for 2 years, and I hope that is end for this stuff, but I don't know. But for today was so beautiful. Please observe my mind, and I was peaceful. I don't have any trigger.
That's it. That's it, Angie. The world will end in laughter. You know, we're coming very close to the end of the world. You're just saying, thank you, Wesley. Wow. I'm laughing my way back into God's love. So you can have full appreciation for that, you know, when you can both laugh together, and that's beautiful. What a witness. That's holy relationship. That's all I can say. That is holy relationship.
Yeah, and that's true freedom, you know, transcendence. Instead of avoiding, you went through the darkness and then you're like, I'm not afraid anymore. That's transcendence. That's beautiful.
Well, if you just keep hanging with us, you know, I think there was it was one of those, the Turkish series that I'm doing, a recent one I did where I started talking about infidelity as going all the way back with God. Like the ego is the infidel. The belief in separation is the infidel. And so when people get angry, even about things that they interpret around sexual infidelity, it's because of the belief in the ego, and the belief in linear time is upsetting. It's not what somebody did or did to somebody else or didn't tell and this and that. In the end, I was saying, when God created Christ, the answer wasn't passive. Christ gave a yes answer. And when we try to forget that yes and play time and space tricks and games, that's where we get into the infidel, because the ego, the belief in separation is the infidel, and the projected world is an expression of infidelity to the Creator. So that puts it in a whole new light. And plus this healing the shame around sexuality, that's I think Andy posted something on there. So if you're interested in that one, I think it's maybe still floating in the ethers. I saw Andy posting away. Well, what a start. That's just our first session. And then Frances, you know, we've got 3 people coming on tonight in this session tonight, right down there in the studio where you are in Mexico.
Yeah, we have Linda and Zach and Marina. So 3 of them gonna be doing music, and then they're gonna share their experience. So it will be a very lively session tonight.
Yeah. The involuntary nature of miracles. It rolls on with examples. Wow. Well, thank you, everyone. It's so beautiful we could be with you. I'm going to switch over to my gallery view so I can just see all your faces one more time. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing with us. We love you. There's Olette beaming along. Oh, I didn't get a chance to read Olette's prayer. What was Olette's prayer for all of us? I pray for letting go of the belief that the world gives me something I want. Ooh, Olette! That's for all of us. Thank you. Okay. Well, we'll send it back to Pete, and we'll see you again tomorrow. We have a great movie. It's the final session, the finals of the series, Another Self. the Turkish series. So we'll be, I know Terry was saying, how will it end? We'll find out tomorrow. And then Francis and I will be back on Sunday to do a Q&A with everybody. So we are so grateful you're with us. Love you.
Love you.